Hello.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here today.
Oh, me too. Me too. One of my favorite topics.
I
One of my
know.
favorite
I
topics.
love how we say that as if we weren't just on Zoom all day together. So good to be here with you today.
And all night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's our
No,
life.
I'm so excited to be talking about this because I feel like this is a very misunderstood topic in the
Mm,
industry right now.
yeah.
So I cannot wait to get into it. So today we're going to be talking about SMS messaging.
Yes. SMS messaging, definitely. I did not intentionally become any sort of guru on this. It just
But
happened to
you did.
me.
You did.
Yeah, it just happened. So yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot along the way of just helping our clients get set up on it, writing SMS messages for clients, and then sending them and tracking the analytics and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I would say it's been a shorter journey because we really are kind of newer to SMS messaging, I would say, than some businesses, but like or some industries, I suppose you would say. But over the course of the last few months, I feel like I've learned so much, and you've been there right with me. So I'm looking forward to sharing everything I know about it.
Yeah, because you know a lot through a lot of trial and error.
A lot of error for sure. Lots of
Oh,
learning.
no, I'm so excited. So I'm just going to ask some questions about SMS
Perfect.
messaging, and we'll try to just go through these quick. Um, and yeah, we'll just have like a little debrief after. So, first and foremost, do you want to just tell everyone why you think having an SMS strategy is important in the first place?
Yes, I love that question. We do a lot of discovery calls with potential clients, and I'm always surprised at the number of people that don't nurture their trusted audience, which I mean by trusted audience, the audience that they've already treated once in their clinic. So they're not doing email marketing or SMS messaging at all, and it's pretty surprising to me because some people have a pretty large list, but even if you have a small list, of 100 or so people, that's if you are standing in a room of 100 people who've already bought stuff from you, you have a pretty great chance of re-nurturing them into being repeat buyers. So SMS is a great way to be certain that you're getting in front of your ideal client. Where ads, you're kind of hoping, you're hoping that the ad lands in front of them, that they see it, that they receive it well. Where SMS, you are guaranteed to get in front of them. So it's really important to do it with email and SMS. And I'm sure we'll do an email episode later on, but yeah, it's a very important way to nurture and build a trusted relationship with your clients that you've already treated.
Yeah. And I also would say it's like guaranteed to get in front of your clientele because who does not check their phone?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even with email, I mean, we can all laugh because I'm sure, like, I don't know if it's like your mom or your sister, but like, we all know a person who has like 75,000 unread emails. So even though email, you're also guaranteed to like get into your client's inbox, you don't know that they're reading it. But
True.
SMS messaging, I mean, you can be pretty sure that they're going to read it for sure. So
Yeah.
there's really not a huge opt out rate for it either, as long as you are respectful about using it.
Hmm.
And we'll go through some of that, I'm sure, in this episode.
Yeah.
But
Well, that
yeah.
was actually my next question.
Yep.
So look at you. No, I was gonna ask, how often do you think you people should be SMSing their list?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would suggest just knowing that most of our listeners' services are more high-end services. It's not like you're selling online retail like of a lower priced item where someone would want to like quickly buy every day or every other day. You're going to want to message them no more than twice a month, but definitely at least once a month. So that way you're staying in communication with them, and just kind of keeping it short and sweet. I actually, this isn't interesting, but I ended up on an MLM, an MLM girls SMS list for, I don't even remember the product anymore, but it's like every time I get the SMS message, it is so dang long. I don't even take the time to read it. So I would say just like trying to be like put yourself in the shoes of the person who's receiving the message And like, would you be annoying yourself? That would be my question. Are you being annoying? That would be the question. So no more than 2 times per month, but it's good to stay in front of people too. So they're not like, wait, who is this person? You know?
Would you feel like, because I have a couple of things in mind, so I'm just curious your opinion too, but do you think there's any exceptions to that rule?
Yeah, I do actually. If you're hosting an event, one of our biggest light bulb moments for us in the agency, I know you know exactly what I'm going to say, is we had a client who she's one of our longest clients. We've worked with her a long time, and we were putting out all of our normal like 14-day launch content. That's what we call it, our 14-day launch. We have a signature process that we do um for launches and whatnot. And with that, we were a couple days out and she was like, you guys, I don't really have that many RSVPs. And we're like, oh my gosh, how? Like how we've sold out so many events with this specific formula that we use every single time. So we're like, oh my gosh, what can we do? What can we do? So this was like months and months ago. So we decided to just take the Hail Mary and just chuck it as far as we could go. And we sent out 3 SMS messages in 1 week to her list. She was planning on only having 50 people attend her event. She only had a couple RSVPs. And then after we sent the first 2 SMS messages, she reached out and was like, you guys, I don't know what I'm going to do because I literally have over 100 people who RSVP'd through SMS. And that was our moment where we were like, holy cow, like this is actually a perfect thing to include in our event launch process where we really help people launch for their event. So yeah, there definitely are exceptions if you're running, I would say Black Friday, of course, those types of promotions, or we have some clients that do like a yearly anniversary event or like a yearly open house, and it's like their biggest thing of the whole year. So I would use your discretion, but definitely, if you have an event coming up or a super great special that you want a lot of people to partake in, you can kind of flex out of that 2 per month limit.
Right. But as long as it's not like every month you have a reason to
Yeah.
SMS message more than a couple times.
Yeah.
I think our biggest lesson so far is don't be annoying. Are you going to annoy yourself? Answer is yes. Then the answer is no.
Yeah. That's perfect. It's a perfect
I love that.
filter.
Okay, so I know something that's kind of been a hidden gem that we really like telling people about is SMS automations. So do you kind of want to walk us through what SMS automations are and what kind of automations you would suggest with SMS?
Yes. So, being in the space that we're in with the agency, we have personally gone and visited quite a few clients in person. And so, we've gotten to experience a lot of the automations that they have set up or don't have set up. And I would say the ones that are always my favorite are the appointment reminder ones that come right to your phone. So you're like, okay, yes, I know where it is. It has the address in it. So I can just click the address because a lot of times we're going to a city we aren't even super familiar with. But everyone uses GPS. So like as long as your address is in there, your appointment time and reminder, and then the ability for them to reply to it to let you know if they can't come is going to help you with the no-show rate. So appointment confirmations, those are always really helpful. You can a lot of times set up a follow-up message after an appointment as well to ask someone for a Google review. So to just say like, did you love your service today? If so, the best form of appreciation for us is a Google review. So here's the link to submit one. We would really appreciate if you would share the love, something short and sweet. Those are really helpful too, because actually multiple times I have left a place and been like, oh, I want to submit a review because I know how important that is to business owners. And then I'll forget because, I'm a mom and I have a lot going on in here. I'll forget and then I'll get that text message and go, oh yes, dang it, I was going to do that. So it's a helpful reminder. So the appointment follow-ups or appointment confirmations and then like the Google review follow-ups are super helpful. Once you've kind of mastered that and you can get a little fancy, yeah, you're gonna have to roll your sleeves up a little bit, but you can do some really cool things in some of the different tools that offer SMS messaging where you can build. A lot of it has to be done manually, which is painful. It is, but the EMRs, like I say EMR, it could be a static record, it could be Jane app. It could be any of those. I mean, there's hundreds, right? It could be any of those. A lot of times they don't allow data to leave their system because it's HIPAA protected data. So you have to manually do what I'm about to explain, but you can in your tool build an automation where you say, once a tag is added to this client, start the following automation. So say someone comes in for Botox and you want to text them the day after and say, hey, Talisa, how are you feeling today? You shouldn't be noticing any pain, but if you are noticing any pain, bruising, swelling, or anything that's concerning, please feel free to give us a call. Here's our number. And then 14 days after you came in, hey, Talisa, your Botox should be fully set in. We know you're loving it. If there's any unexpected movement or any unevenness, please give us a call. We would love to help you with an adjustment. And then 80 days after you came in, say, hey, Talisa, you're probably noticing some movement now. We would love to help you again. Here's our link to book your appointment for your Botox follow-up so that you can come in and get your next quarter of tox treatment. And then giving them the link to book. So you can do that with tox, with filler, with microneedling. You can do it with laser. You can do it with eyelashes. You can do it with eyebrows. You can do it with anything you can really think of in the aesthetic space. You can build those, but it does have to a lot of times be manually started, which is kind of annoying, but you can really re-nurture and get a lot of ROI out of the time. It takes 30 seconds sometimes to log in and start the automation. So you can really get creative with those, and those are kind of fun. But yeah, that would be a huge innovation, I would say, for this year that you could put into place.
Yeah. And I also think you're going to notice a really drastic ROI, because I do think some people just, they're busy with their life and they're doing their thing. And sometimes, someone might remind you that it's been 6 months since you got your hair done or something like that. And then you're like, oh my goodness, it's been 6 months. And it's almost just like you forget about things. So even just having that reminder really, I think, produces a lot of ROI for businesses, because it's bringing them in sooner than they would have. So I love that.
Yeah. And I would say too that like one thing about marketing that we have learned, and a lot of people know this too, is when you're speaking specific to the pain point of a client or something that they haven't really mentioned out loud, they're really building that trust factor with them. So when you reach out with that 80-day text message saying, hey, you're probably noticing some movement, and they go in the mirror and they're like, oh, it's moving. Like the first time my tox was wearing off, my husband was like, Andrea, your forehead's moving. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I better get in. Why is it moving? So I was like, do that face again, do it again. So if I would have got that text message, I would have been like, oh my gosh, she knows me. Like she knows what she's doing. And I would also feel cared about, like nurtured, nurtured into, it wouldn't feel like a money grab to me. It would feel like, oh, she knows her stuff. And that's why she's reaching back out to me, And
yeah,
so,
or that you're just a sorcerer. Like, whoa, how did you know?
Yeah. I just don't know that you can do automations. Like, you might not know that. So yeah, you're then kind of working smarter, not harder with technology. So
I love that. Okay, so now that people are listening, I'm sure they're just over the moon excited about this now. I'm sure. So walk us through just how would someone even get SMS started in their business? Maybe someone's listening right now and they don't even have the capability. How would they go about getting it started?
Yeah, that's another great question. It's almost like you do this every day. So I would say for getting started with SMS, it's definitely getting to be more difficult than it was, just with the federal government getting involved and, regulations being put in place to protect consumers, which as a consumer, of course, we all appreciate. But then as a business owner, you're like, well, thanks. So, there's kind of a double-edged sword there. But first thing is you're going to want to find an SMS messaging provider, which it can be a little misleading because sometimes EMRs will say, oh, we do SMS messaging, but all they'll do is one message, or like a message to only one recipient. So it could be like the appointment follow-up messages, like I had mentioned, like the Google review ones, or appointment confirmations, but they're not doing mass marketing SMS messages. So you want to definitely get some clarity around that before you pick one, sign up for it, and go through the whole rigmarole of getting signed up. So definitely do some research into that. The second question I would have is, do they offer automations, because once you start dabbling in it and you see how successful SMS can be, you don't want to get into it and then want to do automations and they're like, oh, sorry, we don't have that. And then you're stuck trying to port numbers over. Port numbers is like a cuss word to me. It's so hard. It's very challenging. Porting numbers is very difficult. So I would try to avoid that at all costs and do your research up front and make sure that, you can do mass messaging, you can do automations. And then I would say from that point forward, you're going to have to gather up a lot of stuff. There's going to be some footwork you have to do before you can actually get it up and running. So a lot of them will require you to do, different pages on your website for privacy, for terms and conditions and all that. And so you'll have to kind of do a lot of work there, but to choose one is going to be the biggest step forward. And then from there, you'll just follow the prompts on the screen of entering your stuff and then waiting. It's a lot of times a waiting game, but yeah.
You mentioned federal government guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go over more of those? Just like what exactly those are and how those have evolved and changed?
Yes. So I do want to stay kind of vague on the subject from the standpoint that they change a lot. And so I don't want this episode to come out and then, 2 weeks from now it be inaccurate. But what I will say is that in September of 2023 was basically the start of what they call A2P registration for the federal government, where they were enforcing it that everyone who has an SMS number was registered through the federal government. The purpose of it is to make sure that the recipient of the message is, has given consent to receive the message, and that you are who you say you are. Because you could have, prior to this, been like, I am Nike and I'm offering $20 off your next pair of shoes. Click this link, and then someone clicks the link because they really want these Nikes, and then you just like scammed them, and got access to their stuff. So they want to make sure you are who you say you are, your number is registered to your EIN for your business, and that the consumer has said, yes, I want to receive these text messages. So the government has just kind of like put in some guardrails here for that. So in order to have the government approve it, they need to see your EIN, like they need to validate your business name with the address, with your EIN number. The terms and conditions page is required. The privacy page is required on your website. You can find templates for that online. You're just going to have your website builder put those on your website at the very bottom. And then, you'll have to go through the prompts. A lot of times it will ask you for like a sample message of what you're going to send out so that they can get an idea of what type of message you're planning to send. But all of that gets reviewed by an actual human. So, it's not just like by a robot or whatever, but it's pretty detailed. I would say by now I've probably submitted over 50 of them through multiple different platforms. They all seem to ask for little different things here and there, but I would definitely anticipate the government clamping down more in 2024 than getting less restrictive.
Yeah, for sure. And bless your heart for 50.
It's been, a little painful, but it's all good.
Yeah. No, so I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this right now are going to ask if we have a preferred platform for SMS. So do you kind of want to walk through that?
Yeah, we have experience applying to and using multiple different platforms. So, which is definitely a blessing for this episode to at least share the experience. But there's a couple different weird nuances that we've just uncovered. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say the business name, so I'm just not going to. So I'll just say there are some platforms that you're going to want to do your research into before you decide to use them, before you pay for the service, before you go through all of the work of like putting your brand colors into it, putting your logo in, all that stuff takes hours, especially if you're not familiar with doing it. But there's a major service that will not allow you to do SMS messaging if you offer financing through your business, which is like, what the heck? Why would that even make sense? But they won't. So as an example, a lot of our agency clients offer Cherry payments. And so of course on their website, it says to apply for Cherry financing, click here. Well, then when this business went to validate the SMS application, they denied them all and said, no, you can't do that because you have financing. So we're like, what? So I wouldn't recommend I wouldn't recommend working with any of them that have like really tough restrictions, but also you're going to want to pick a platform that is well known. High Level is one that's well known that I feel like I can just say because there's so many businesses under that umbrella. That one seems to be the most convenient to use for a lot of reasons as of right now, but I don't know if that will change with the federal government's regulations. I don't know. But that one seems to be the easiest to plug into and to utilize. But, yeah, I would say you can do it with multiple platforms. There's quite a few out there. The price points differ greatly.
Yeah, for sure.
Some are, $40 a month, some are $500 a month. So definitely do your research. Go on Google, look it up, make sure that it checks all the boxes. Like, can I do mass marketing? Can I do automations? Am I paying per text message? Because you can get really overcharged for that. Yeah, and then like what is required for me to apply? And then are there any restrictions on who you allow to do it? So yeah, there's kind of a lot that goes into that. And I wish I had like a preferred vendor, but I really don't at this point.
Yeah. But I think that's smart advice, is just giving them the things to think about beforehand, because there's a lot. And again, each one has different price points and then also different pain points, I would say too. So it's just kind of the balance of all of those factors into play: your budget, what it's going to take to use it, and again, any restrictions that they have. And I think it's just kind of each individual business is going to be different.
Yeah, it will.
What they're going to enjoy the best. Okay, thank you for that. Let's talk more about the SMS messages themselves. So what are things that you think are essential that they need to put in an SMS message every single time?
Yeah, I like that question because one thing I have noticed is that some SMS messages that we have just seen, through even our own copywriting team when we first got into this of writing these, that we're having to like kind of train them on how to do it. You don't want just a block of text. You kind of want it spaced out, so you want to have like an intro where it's like a super mini email, I would say, right? Where you have like a greeting, a couple sentences that are separated out. And then you're going to want to either in the beginning remind them who's messaging them or sign it at the end with like a signature of your business. I would say emojis are always great because they kind of warm up a message. They always make it feel a little bit more cute, a little bit warmer, and a little bit more, I guess, less professional and more approachable. So definitely add in some emojis. Definitely have a call to action, whether the call to action is like book an appointment, here's the link to book, whether it's please RSVP for my event, reply to RSVP, whether it is you're doing a gift card special and you want them to purchase gift cards for Black Friday, and you say, here's the link to buy your gift cards. You definitely want to like use the link and do a call to action. And then make sure you sign it from your business name, because sometimes people just delete these messages and then they get it and they're like, who is this from? Because that's happened to me for sure.
Yeah, no, that's super important. I think something that we talked about too is just like the 2 P's too: personality and purpose. Yes. So like before you send an SMS message, asking yourself, does this have personality? Does it sound like it's coming from a human rather than like a robot? And does it have a purpose? Because if it doesn't have a real purpose being in their text messages, they're going to get frustrated. I almost guarantee it.
Right. Yeah. I love that you said that you put it into that context too, the 2 P's, especially the purpose one, because if you just get a message and it's like, hey girl, hope you're doing good. You're like, great, thanks. I am. Thank you.
Or I'm really not. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're like sitting there crying and your kids are beating you up and you're like, yeah, no, I'm not. It's not a good day. Yeah, I love the purpose though, because there's multiple purposes, but you definitely want to be strategic when you're writing those messages and like going to send them out for sure. Like make sure there's a strategy around that.
Yes. Okay, I love that. Okay, what things do you think people need to leave out of an SMS message?
Yeah, too many emojis makes it look like it's spam,
Yes.
Too many emojis, too many weird emojis, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how
It's
to
true.
really like explain that, but like I probably wouldn't use like a sushi emoji. I would probably stick to like the stars, the hearts, the arrows, the hand motions, like that kind of stuff, and just kind of stick away from the ones that you would feel like don't really make sense to go with your business. And then I would leave. This is a big one. This is a case study that I'm going to share. So we actually, in our learning journey through SMS with our agency clients, we had a client who we actually weren't doing SMS for her. She was doing it on her own. And in every SMS message, she thought she needed to put at the end of it, to opt out, reply stop, right? Because we've all seen that in our phones a lot of times. So she was putting that in there and she was having like an 11% opt out rate. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then her number got frozen by the feds. They froze it. And they said, because the opt out rate was too high. So you definitely don't want to like hide it from people that they can't opt out. But essentially, you don't want to make the reply to opt out or reply stop to opt out your call to action. Because then people are like, oh yeah, I guess I don't really want to get these, and then
Yeah.
you're just shrinking your list. So I just wouldn't put that in every single message, like maybe your very first message ever that you send out. But beyond that, I
Yeah.
wouldn't keep doing it.
Yeah, because I think people gravitate to whatever the call to action is. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
having a call to action to do something to get them off your list, that's what they're thinking about. Whereas if the call to action is, oh, RSVP to this event, if someone's not that interested, they'll just be like, oh, okay, and move on with their day.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like that call to action is huge. That's what people are focusing on in the message. So you don't want the call to action to be like something that's not beneficial,
Yeah,
you know?
that can hurt you. And they
Yeah.
will freeze your number so you can't use it. They will.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to be aware of that. So I would leave that out. Other things I would leave out is just too much detail. So like
Mm-hmm.
say I actually wrote an SMS message for a client today before we got on this. Um, she's hosting an event tomorrow and she has like some really amazing promos that are happening at the event. But to explain every single promo in detail, I didn't do that. I left it out and just said, if you come to the event, you will have access to special pricing on tox, filler, microneedling, joining our membership. And then there was one other thing. But instead of putting like what the tox special is, what the filler promotion is, what the microneedling, where you're putting like dollar amounts. And if you buy two, you get one free. And if you do this, you get that free. You end up making it too long, too confusing. So definitely include that level of detail in social copy and on your social media stuff, reels, emails. I would definitely include it there. But with SMS, you definitely want to think of it as like a super abbreviated email. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
try to like really shorten it down and don't overdo it on the details for sure. And yeah,
And no, I totally agree. And if there's just like one focused part of what's going on, I think that would be okay. Like, come to our event to win a year of free talks.
right.
Something that would be like a massive part of your event, I think would be okay to put in there. But again, just like you were talking about, if it's like detailed bullet points for everything, people are going to be like, what on earth is this? But if
Yeah.
it's like one main thing that's just like really packing a punch, I think that would be appropriate. But I totally agree. Like, you just do not want these bullet pointed things
Yeah, there
all
are
throughout
just
that.
so much like you
Yeah.
have parentheses and dollar signs, and if you do this, then this, and if that, then this. And it's like sometimes, I mean, yeah, we see it all the time, like just an overcomplication of promotions. But sometimes
Yeah.
you kind of have to. You're like, well, I'm not going to just say I have a promotion on filler and then have it be someone come in for like a lip hydration and they used a half a syringe, but you really intended the promotion to be for someone who wanted full facial rebalancing and they came in for 5 syringes. You do
Yeah.
have to have some specifics around what it is, right? Like what the
Yeah.
promotion is for. But yeah, that doesn't need to be included in SMS for sure.
Agree.
So leave
Agree.
that level of detail off.
So if you were to have just like overall your perfect SMS message, like if
Ooh.
someone were just to send like a chef's kiss SMS message, what would it be?
Okay, so the perfect SMS message, I'm just going to use an event SMS message, like an RSVP event as an example. So it would say, a lot of times you can also customize it with hey client name, like with the brackets. I sometimes get a little strange about those just because I'm like afraid that it doesn't work. And then someone gets a text message that says, hey, client name. And I'm like, wow, I feel like you hate me.
This
Um,
is really personal.
yeah, wow, I feel great. So I try to don't do those. You can do them, and I'm not saying they don't work, but I try to take the more conservative approach with some of these things. So I don't address it per person usually. I just say like, "Hey, hey friend," or "Hey girl," something along those. Depending on who your ideal client is, it's almost time to celebrate at our event tomorrow, and then I would enter down so that you're putting a space, like a paragraph space between each sentence, and say, "Tomorrow at our event, we're offering special pricing on tox, filler, microneedling, and joining our event." And then say, "We can't wait to see you tomorrow, where we're going to be offering sips, snacks, and great company. To RSVP, please reply to this message. Signed, your girls at insert med spa name here." So I'd make it very like a condensed email, and
Yeah.
kind of like a greeting, an introductory sentence, 2 to 3 sentences about what you're sending the message about, with some emojis in there, a call to action that's short and sweet, and then signed by your name.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, I want to ask you one last question because I don't, want people to be here all day listening to this, but at the same time, I have one more. And I
Okay.
feel like this has been I really do feel like this has been very value packed, which I appreciate. So it's so good. But the last question I would have is, how do you truly feel like SMS affects ROI for a business? Like, do you think it affects it a little bit or dramatically? Like, I would love to just hear your thoughts on really why they should be SMSing. Do you think it truly helps?
Yeah, I mean, even if you were to choose a platform where the expense per month on SMS messaging was, say, $500, would be astronomical, but say that that's the price of it. If you were to send out 2 messages, marketing messages, I'm doing air quotes, where there were general messages about your promos that month, or even just one, and then you were also doing for every single client that came in that month and the months prior, re-nurturing them with the SMS automations we talked about earlier, and you are doing the appointment reminders, you're going to be accomplishing so many goals at one time for that little amount of $500, where you're decreasing your no-show rate, you're increasing your retention rate, you're likely upselling people who are like, "Oh, there's an event tomorrow where I can bring my best friend and we can both get our lips done. That sounds really legit. Like, let's go do that." And then you're also building a trust factor with your clients, which you can't really put a monetary value on that. I just know that if you're really leaning into making SMS a main pillar of communication with clients, or just like a part of your marketing, um, like your whole, how everything works together in your marketing, I would say you're definitely going to get an ROI on that. You just have to be strategic about it and not random, and just make sure that it makes sense and you're not being annoying, just making sure you're following the guidelines of not too much detail, you're using the right call to actions, you're sounding really professional with your writing. Yeah, I think you can do really, really well with SMS. We have, with our agency clients, seen a really drastic change with clients who we do SMS messaging for. Um, so I know for sure that it works. I just don't know, like, if you were to do it differently than how we do it, how successful you could be. But definitely ROI, even if you paid the most expensive one, I'm sure you could get that ROI back. But $500 would be like I said, an astronomical rate. But even at
Yeah.
that, I'm sure you could probably get it if you were to really focus on hitting all of the pistons, like have them all going at the same time with SMS.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I loved this. I actually really did. I thought this was very productive conversation about SMS. So, if you're listening and have more questions or you're confused about something, please feel free to DM us on Instagram, and we would love to talk to you and chat with you. Come talk with us in the DMs, and we are available to answer any questions that you have. And come follow us.
Yes, definitely
Same.
come check us out on Instagram. We put out lots of helpful tips and advice and all sorts of stuff, in our support emails in the show notes as well. So if you have any direct questions or need any direct support, definitely let us know in email or in Instagram. Thank you so much for your thoughtful questions. I loved them.
Yes. And we will talk to you guys soon.